Hello, YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is Oxygen Not Included Strategy and Tactics, Episode 1. So, when we last left our intrepid colony here, well, we left them right at the beginning. We had just sorted out who we are picking, what we are picking. Go check out Episode 0 if you want the details. But we've got ourselves Larissa, Hiko, and the bow ready for action, and let's survey our surroundings here, shall we? So first things first, we got to acknowledge the fact that we have been spoon-fed our first body of water. Normally, the first thing I would advocate doing is aggressively digging down so that you could get a water spout set up, because you're going to need that for your sinks early on. We don't need to do that much digging to get that going. But also, we've got some good water down here. We've got some good... Nope, that's not water. That's ethanol. That might be useful later. Good to keep that in mind. We've also got a good body of water up here. Good chunks of algae here. A little chunk of it here, chunk of it here. I'd say we have a decent amount of algae. Algae's kind of your starting time limit before your early colony dies. One thing you need to keep in mind here is your colony is always slowly marching towards death. And so two of my three surviving Mars rules apply here. Abundance is an illusion, and prizes come from the sky. The second rule, redundancy is safety, that doesn't really work so much in the Oxygen Not Included universe, but I'll elaborate on that later. Let's get these dupes to work. Now, before we unpause here, a couple of things that we need to sort out. So first things first, consumables. We, right now, not much to really adjust, although one thing I do advocate turning off is raw bristleberries. If we happen to come across one in the wild, we don't want people eating it because we can cook it into something that is worth a bit more calories. So it's worth holding on to the raw material, the raw bristleberries, in order to cook it and get more. Keep in mind, these little things eat bristleberries, so if you're about to harvest one of those plants and one of these things is nearby, they're going to take a bite. So I usually kill them before I do any harvesting. Secondly, we need to look at schedules. Now, the default schedule's fine. It's fine for what it is, but I have a more nuanced way of scheduling my dupes. First things first, I don't like a whole bunch of dupes on the same schedule because that creates bottlenecks and rushes to critical bits of infrastructure, requiring you to overbuild them, and that takes up more resources. So let's deal with that. Let's do something. How about, well, first off, for our main schedule here, this is too much downtime. We need more work time. So we're going to actually say nope. No downtime there. And we're not going to have you do a bath time. We're just going to put your downtime here. Now, we still have 2 blocks of downtime, so they still get the +1 morale bonus from that. Secondly, yes, we don't have any bath time scheduled for them, but they can use the bathroom on their downtime. So it pulls double duty of letting them, well, do double duty, and also giving them higher morale. So it's a little bit better of a distinction than bath time. We may incorporate bath time later on when we get showers online, but for the time being, nah. Now, let's add a new schedule here, because we don't want all 3 of them doing that particular schedule. But this particular schedule, let's scooch it a smidge-a-meter, shall we? So if we do say something like, if we do bedtime a little bit earlier, and then we have our 2 chunks of break time there, that just makes it so that they're not everybody's going at the same time. So the bow, I'm going to kick you down to schedule number 2, and schedule number 1 are just going to have these 2. And you know what? We can give it a name. We'll call it the the leading ladies. So Larissa and Hiko, our first pair. Thibaut, you will get a partner soon enough, my friend. Right then, let's actually start doing something. So, digging. We're going to want to dig out, again, first things first, dig out to your first source of water. We're also going to want to dig out over in this direction, because lots of good resources to be had. So let's unpause. Oh, one other thing I forgot. I forgot one of the most important things, besides the schedules. That is priorities. So let's get these sorted before we really turn our dupes loose. Now, for, if you remember correctly, Larissa has the construction, athletics, and strength. So what we're going to have her do is we're going to have her do a very high priority building, very high priority, supplying, and yeah, that's about it. Now, for everybody else, I'm going to actually turn them to very low priority of building. You don't want to turn it completely off, because if you have a case where there's a whole bunch of things that need to be built, and your one builder can only go so fast, and you'd otherwise have a bunch of idlers, yeah, that's you don't want that. Now, as far as supplying, again, we want our higher strength dupe, Larissa, doing the hauling there. Speaking of, Hiko, with her negative strength, we're going to want to bar her from doing any heavy lifting because it's just going to be so inefficient. So, no tidying, no supplying, no storing. Anything that requires strength is a no-no. But she does get very high priority for farming, since she's our secondary researcher, I'm going to give one tick of priority to researching. Thibaut, primary researcher, boom, gets double ticks up there. As far as everything else, you know what? Because you're kind of buff, I'm going to give you a single tick to supplying. We still want Larissa being the main supplier here, but if you're not doing a science Thibaut, why don't you help out with the heavy lifting? Okay, now we're ready. We'll get into skills later. Alright, so we've got ourselves our pitcher pump. We're going to put it right down over here. Might as well plan it out. The other thing I'd like to do is, and this is going to tie into a strategy a little bit later, is extend our printing pod platform by one tile each. I then like to sort of pre-plan my staircases here. I'm not going to be using much of this one here, but I do want this staircase one space away from the edge here, and one space away from an edge over here, sort of like that. Same goes here, one space away, and this one is going to actually go down a little bit, and up a little bit. We are going to want to dig out some of this. This is going to give us some very important early copper. It's also important that you dig out these spaces up here so that the oxalite can breathe and start filling your early area with oxygen. As you can see here, Larissa going away doing her building thing, and she's going to prioritize, delivering stuff whenever possible here. All right. Now the other thing we want to do, we kind of want to uproot all of these because we got to make a little room over here. Because the other thing you want to do, once you get your pitcher pump up and running, the next most important thing is getting your bathroom up and running. And our bathrooms, I'm going to say it's going to build over here. Now, since this is kind of hanging in the air, we are going to need to build a floor for it, but that's okay. We're going to just draw this out to over here. And generally, when you're having a room, you do want to have the door so you can get the room bonus, especially with the bathroom will give you the latrine bonus to it. So we do want to take the time to build the door for it. Now for the bathroom, we need a wash basin closer to the door. And when I build my bathrooms, I like to double them up. So wash basin. And then we will do outhouse. And I like to put a space in between the two of them. I also like to put a space right here. This will be useful later. once we clear this whole area out, then I'll be able to actually finish drawing the floor. Let's just clear these out just to see if they can start clearing out the sand first, because it's a lot easier to get rid of it before it falls. Alright, the bow. Alright, doing your supply runnings. So now the supply thing actually impacts a whole bunch of different jobs besides just supplying construction. Supplying meaning maintaining things, such as supplying food and whatnot. Now, since both of them have supply as the thing, they're going to try to supply things as much as possible before... Yeah, look at Hiko. Hiko could not fill the wash basin with water. She was too weak for it. Unfortunately, yeah, wash basin refilling is considered something different. Actually, what is wash basin refilling considered? Because I want to turn that off. Or is that life support? What is life support? Water sieves? Nope. Doctoring? Medical supply? Yeah, I think that's considered medical supply. It certainly isn't operating. Yeah, so that would be medical supply, because it is technically the sink is part of the medicine building category. Okay. We do want to seal it off so that we get that bonus. Alright, now, while we wait for them to finish all this up, thank you, Thabo, you can actually carry a full load in one go. We are going to want to plan out our barracks, because that's our next step, is trying to get everyone in bed. It's not the end of the world if you can't get everybody in a bed for the first night and they all just pass out on the floor. That's okay. For your first cycle, that's not the end of the world. Now, we might be able to pull that off because of how little digging we needed to get our pitcher pump up and running. So, yeah, let's... we'll also want to dig over here. Again, free up that oxalite so it can breathe. And then for our barracks here, since we have this nice line of sandstone here, we don't need to replace it with a floor entirely. We'll worry about beautification once dupes get higher level and thus more demanding with their decor. So yeah, just put them back to each other. We will explore fancier bedrooms later on, once we have the tech for it and also the need for it. Right now we have neither, so we're just going to cram them in like that. I do like to give them a little extra breathing room so oxygen can diffuse into the room, so they're less likely to be gasping for breath in the middle of the night. Because otherwise, yeah, that seriously gives them some sleep debuffs. Alright, so let's speed you guys up. Alright, they're starting to run out of daylight, but that's okay. Like I said, if we can't make it for everybody, that's okay. Alright, Larissa, keep building. And see, this is why I like having our construction person having top priority to construct, because that way you're always, when it comes time to build things, the fastest builder is the one that's actually going to be building them, unless, there's literally nothing else to do. One thing to note here, so as far as the priority system goes, everything by default is a 5, but the priorities here, these arrows, are magnitudes larger priority, meaning a person, for example, hey, we're about, we're idling? Wow, we still have daylight to burn too. Okay, I wasn't expecting to get this far in the first cycle, but hey, I'll roll with it. Right then, let's get into our metals and other festooneries here. So we're gonna get our oxygen diffuser. I like putting it here on this one extra tile next to our food, and this is actually going to tie into a very important strategy next to our printing pod. So one thing about the printing pod that's very important here is the fact that, well, it produces dupes, obviously. That's probably the most important. But in the early game, it produces light. Very, very important light. If we look at the light overlay, we can see that it is making light for free. We don't have to power it or feed it any energy or materials. It just lights up. And that's a good thing, because guess what? Dupes who are working in a well-lit area work 15% faster. And that's really important when you have things like, research and power production and other time and labor intensive things. Oh yeah. So yeah. Now the best way to make use of this is actually if you have 3 spaces and then a floor here, 1, 2, 3 like that. And then 1, 2, 3 like that. Although I'm going to hold off on doing that because we need to wait for this oxalite to breathe itself out before we start building that. So we're going to go clear this out. We might as well clear all of this out too. This is all valuable stuff. Oh, the other thing you want to do, if there's sand above the printing pod, don't let that sand fall on the printing pod. Mine it out first before it has a chance to hit the printing pod. Otherwise, you will be an unhappy camper. It will reset the dupe timer, and that's no fun for anybody here. So I'm just going to make sure all this stuff up here gets cleared out before we clear out these blocks here. But what we're going to do over here, we're going to get the manual generator going, as well as the battery. Now, this is all going to take a while, and we're not going to be able to get this working, tonight by any means. I'm already surprised at the progress we've made. So we'll go like that, and there we go. Perfect. All right, let's finish up the day here. We should be all set to, yeah, there's all 3 beds, so everybody will have a place to sleep. Now, if you have, one little time saver, if we set these doors to open, they still count as doors for the purposes of getting, room bonuses, but it makes it a lot faster for people to pass through them if they don't have to wait a millisecond for the door to open. So if you don't need to worry about things escaping or getting into that area, then you're fine to leave them open. All right, bedtime for the leading ladies. The beau took the earlier shift, so he's already snoozing away. And there we go. I think we've got ourselves a pretty good start here. So if you guys like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Your feedback is always welcome. So until next time, this has been Pinstar signing out. See ya!